Hey guys, and welcome to video one of the quarantine film lab, shall we call it? One Room Wonder Film Lab, whatever. Quarantine film lab, that's a good place to start. I think it sets the groundwork well in terms of what our orientation is or where we're coming from. Um, Before I get started and throw ourselves totally into this explanation, and there's going to be two videos this week. One will be giving them rationale, a little bit about me and about the rules that we're going to follow here. And then the next one will be about how to construct a story, particularly if you're stumped. You want to create a one-room story, but you're not sure where. So I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that and some ideas about the kinds of things that you need to create a good story. And story is so key in a single room, single location movie, or at least a strong theme anyway, and conflict. But I'll get into that more in the second video. Now I had to reshoot this actually because there's a first tip, I suppose, is that I didn't I tested my microphone. I have this lav mic on so that it just sounds a little bit better, and it worked. But for some reason on the iPhone 7, when you are in the app, I'm using Filmic Pro, and you unplug it and you plug it back in, it doesn't seem to register it. And I don't know why that is. And so I had to restart the app, restart my computer, restart the app, and I'd recorded both videos. So this is me saying the same thing that I said a while ago and getting sick of my own voice. So sorry that if I don't get the second video out today. I do have my jobs to do. I have a science fiction novel to write, weirdly, and whatever. Anyway, we're going to move forward. Small hitch. Remember to check your gear before you go and shoot all kinds of stuff and then feel like a dumbass afterwards, like me, when things are lost. So who am I? And why are we doing this? Okay, so a little bit about me. I'm a filmmaker and a writer, and I come to filmmaking through writing. That's my entry point. I went to the Canadian Film Centre, which is kind of like the AFI in the United States in terms of postgraduates for writers, directors, and producers and editors. That used to be the four components of the program when I was there. I'm not sure if that's changed at all. It's been a few years. And so I was in the screenwriting lab part of it, but I also wanted to direct. And so I did some short stuff, some short films, and then I shot two feature films that went to some small festivals and got some distribution. And I mentioned that our most recent film, Fucking My Way Back Home, which is on iTunes and Amazon, but could only go by the initials because iTunes and Amazon have an opposition to the word fucking, even though you can kill people and use death and murder and slaughter and whatever in your titles, fucking cannot be in your titles. So we had to change it to the kind of obscure FMWBH, Fumba, as we call it, even though it doesn't really spell that. But Fumba is now on iTunes and on Amazon Prime in the United States and in Canada. But we don't yet have international distribution, so it's nowhere else in the world. Hopefully it will be at some point. Anyway, so besides being a filmmaker, making my own films, I've also worked in development for the last 10 years as a creative development exec. And in that, I've also primarily worked with the screenwriting process, working with projects that came into our production company, which is based in Montreal and in LA, though I myself live in Granada, Spain. I moved here with my family a number of years ago. And so I would work on, providing story editing services, notes on scripts. I would evaluate projects from the script point of view. I would also do provide some development notes on cuts of movies that we produced, that sort of thing. And for them, develop original content. So I may have mentioned in the past that I have a TV series that's in the advanced stages of development. We have broadcast partners on board and so on, and we're just completing the first 2 episodes, scripts, and a season arc. So that's a whole other story, but as you can see, that's kind of on my focus, is the writing aspect of filmmaking and TV. As well, I work as a ghostwriter, writing novels for people who then put pen names on them, or their own names, I suppose. I don't really know what happens to them after I finish writing them, and so I write a lot, primarily in science fiction, but I've also done romance, erotica romance. Weirdly, these choose your own adventure apps that are apparently, I guess, are made, again, I've never seen them, that are used with manga comics, made for iPhones and iPads for people who want to read and look at cartoons, erotic cartoons. So I do a lot of writing stuff, and that's kind of what I bring. I have directed, I have produced feature films, but my focus is there. And so I'm going to put a lot of focus on that for a couple reasons, both because it's my experience, but also because, as I said, story is so important in a single room, single location film that has to lean heavily on story and can't really, unless you're super skilled with VFX, you can't really get around, you can't overlook story weaknesses or flat conflicts and that kind of thing with explosions and spaceships and whatnot from a single location. Though that'd be cool if somebody proved me wrong. In addition, what else is there in that regard? I think that covers most of that. Now let's talk about what the goals are of this program, this course that we're going to do here. And I think there are a number of things. One, the first is to stay sane. Many of us, like myself in Spain, are completely locked down. We are not allowed to go outside our yards into the street unless it's for shopping or medicine or doctor's visits or walking a dog. And I don't have a dog, so I don't go out that much. And you can get food, groceries delivered to your home and so on. So we're literally trapped inside our houses, some of us alone, some of us with family who may or may not be driving us insane. And so this was about giving people a way to do something that they loved with their time, that made them feel fulfilled, but that's low pressure, low stakes. This is not about you need to create some kind of commercial masterpiece that's going to make your career. This is about extending yourself as an artist and about both technically, but also creatively, and exploring new avenues. So don't feel like you need to come up with some really commercial idea that's going to be out there. Just really enjoy it and explore your own expressions as an artist and explore your own interests in terms of what you would do. And don't think, I need to write When Harry Met Sally in one location, or whatever it happens to be. So stay sane, number one. Secondly, get motivated to get a film done. This is a perfect opportunity in some ways. You're stuck in your house. You can't go out and party. You can't go out and meet your friends for coffee. You can't do all kinds of things. You may be loaded down with work, so you may be limited, as I am, with my various hats that I wear. But in your free time, maybe this is a chance for you to finally get that film done that you wanted to get done. Thirdly, build skills, which I said. And fourthly, build community. Because we are isolated, this is a chance for us to connect with other people who have similar interests, similar desires, similar skills, and we can share as a community those skills and that experience in a way that develops us and allows us to realize our artistic vision. So there's two things I want to do in that regard. The first is I'm going to create and I'll probably repost it intermittently, a need a skill, share a skill discussion area where if you need something, you feel like, oh man, I could really use somebody to help me with the editing because I suck at editing, or what app should I use? Could I do it in iMovie? Is there something else I could use that would be easier than going into something highly technical like Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere or what have you? You can put that out there, but in return, the deal is this, that you are going to ask for something, you have to offer something. And don't feel like, I think people think too often about filmmaking, those of us who come into it, more purely from the creative side than say from the technical skill set side, think, oh wow, I don't have anything to offer. But that's not true, actually. We all have something to offer, I have story edited for a long time, and I have a lot of experience story editing, so that's something that I can offer, my experience as a screenwriter. And in return, I could ask for something like color correcting, for instance, which is something I have no idea how to color correct and have no skills in that whatsoever. So that could be an exchange that I might like to do. Maybe you are a musician and you can compose some music. Maybe it's with a variety of instruments. Maybe it's just with one. You play the cello, the harmonica, whatever, the didgeridoo. and you could do soundtrack music for somebody in return for some other skill. Maybe you're a voice actor and you do a lot of voiceover narrative. You could offer your voiceover, because that could be really cool to offer in a film. It could add production value, as they say. Or you're an actor and you could help with makeup. How do you do your own makeup at home so that you don't look pasty and pale, bags under your eyes, like I currently have, and don't do it in a way so it looks like you're wearing a mask, or your foundation line stops here. Maybe what you could buy on Amazon in terms of a cheap makeup kit so that you can make yourself look good on camera. Things like that can be really useful, even though they're not technically, it's not like, here's how to use this D99 camera from whatever it happens to be. I'm working on an iPhone 7 right now. I'm recording this, hopefully recording sound this time. And you don't need to stress too much about those technical sides, but we can rely on each other for that stuff. Now, the second thing, so that's need a skill, share a skill, will be one aspect of this. And the second aspect is sharing your own training video. I do have experience making micro budget films. We shot the first one for about $40,000 Canadian. We shot the second one for $7,000. We shot it for $7,000, and then the post-production was probably another $4,000. So under $12,000 Canadian, again, which is about $3.62 American. And so I've been through that process a couple of times, and have my own experience and tips that come from that, from all the aspects of doing that. But I am not the fount of all knowledge, and there are people out there who, as I've suggested, are way more technically trained than I am, have experience with shooting micro budgets. People have written me and said, I've actually shot single location micro budget features in the past, and I would have tips to share. Please make those training videos and share them, so that it's not just coming from me. It's a conversation we're having with each other where we can learn from each other and develop. I'm going to focus, again, as I've said, in the first section on story and how to construct a script. And I'll lean heavily on Blake Snyder's Save the Cat, which will be controversial. I know some of you are contemptuous of the 3-act structure, but I tell you, it's a very powerful machine, and you can use it in ways that make it more sophisticated and unconventional in form, that I'll talk about as well. But I'll also post, I have kicking around on my hard drive an article on non-conventional story structures, but don't get too hung up on that. The main thing is to tell a good story, and for us to feel the arc of the characters through that story. It's really not about getting fancy pants. If you want to get fancy pants, we can talk fancy pants. And I've used 2-act structures. I've used movements in time and space and so on. That's all possible, but the main thing is to just tell a good story. So those are the two things, the foundation of why we're doing this, and the general approach to how we're doing it. Now the rules of the world, the rules of the program that we're going to do. There's really only 2 rules. I know that some of you have written to me from Mexico and from India and places that don't yet have full lockdowns going on like we do here in Spain, like it's happening now in California, certainly happening is even more extreme in Italy at this point, or in China. But nonetheless, we're all going to follow the same rules. And that first rule is single location. I'll bend it a little bit, but single location, there's no travel. I don't want to see any travel discussion of moving from place to place. You cannot leave the confines of your house or apartment or backyard or balcony. So you can go outside there, or you can go to the balcony and shoot out in the street, or you can use stock footage, for instance. So you wanted to use stock footage of a cityscape to establish the location of your thing, or of an airplane's flying overhead or something, and they don't happen to fly over your section of town where you live. So stock footage is okay, but you cannot go out to shoot it yourself. And so if somebody actually wants to post about where they can get free stock footage, or that they have stock footage, that would be a great need a skill, share a skill. Hey, I've got stock footage of cows in pastures. I'm just really into cows. And if anybody needs any cow shots, talk to me. I'm the cow guy. that would be super cool, and it'd be, again, to add production value and be a great resource for people to lean upon. So single location. Rule number 2, second of 2 rules. The only people who can be in your movie are people who are quarantined with you now. So people who live with you, who had the misfortune of passing out on your couch and waking up to being quarantined and now they can't leave the house. Your family, who are sort of in the same position, I suppose, or your dog, and that's it. Now, what I don't want to have happen is social interaction. I don't want you bringing your friends over to your house or whatever. This is also about supporting the need for social distancing. So you can have other people in your movie on condition that they're remote. So you could have, say, a Skype call with somebody, or maybe the movie is about these calls that you're making with some other person over FaceTime or Skype. You could, if you are super fancy, you have green screen at your house and your friend has green screen at his house, they can set up a green screen. You can shoot yourselves on green screen, and then put yourselves, composite into an image of a moonscape, for instance. If that is something that you can do, and that's something that floats your boat. But no bringing people in for this, no bringing in extra hands other than what you have. This is about working with what you have. And again, as far as equipment goes, don't sweat it. You can also, if you don't have things, you can get stuff online still pretty easily. Amazon is still delivering, I think, pretty much everywhere. You can get, this lav mic I got for like $30 online. It's a Rode microphone, and I got an extension cable for it and an adapter for my phone, which sometimes doesn't work, but sometimes does work. So you can get those kind of microphones. I got a shotgun microphone for my daughter for Christmas. That's cost like $40, I think. And again, with the adapter that I have from Rode, I believe, actually this dongle for my iPad and the iPhone. It works for the shotgun mic because the shotgun mic doesn't have the 3 rings. I can't remember the names of the different kinds of plug, but it allows the shotgun mic to work in those. I'm using Filmic Pro, which I bought for like $10 in the App Store. You can find China ball lights, those like rice paper balls, if you want, instead of a softbox. There's all kinds of possibilities, and hopefully people will share training videos of the kinds of things that you can do on the cheap from home as well that can add to our wealth of knowledge in all of this. Now, there was one thing that I keep thinking of that I wanted to say and that I keep forgetting. Let's see, there was making the movies, I don't know, it's totally slipped from my mind. So I'll leave it at that. The next video that will be coming will be talking about story and how to go about constructing a story. I advise you to read the case study, One Room Wonders, that's posted, because it's really useful. I'm not going to repeat all that information because it's readable right there, and there's no point me saying the same things over and over. It'll get really boring. I really hope that we can make this into a great experience, and we can all create some really fun films that we can watch and share with each other, because that will be fun. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. My focus on story will be on features, because that is my experience. I've made 3, 4, 5 maybe short films, but short film is its own thing. So if somebody out there is an expert on structuring screenplays for shorts, then they should also add that. I will focus, I think there's a lot of crossover, and I'll talk some about short films, but my primary focus will be on feature-length films. And you can, once you have a script in place, if you're shooting in one location with 1, 2, 3 characters, you can shoot it pretty quickly because you don't have a lot of unit moves from one location to the other and so on. And what the hell, you're stuck in the house, right? Something to do at night instead of playing another game of Monopoly and flipping the table over because you're pissed off that you have to pay all that rent. So that covers, I think, pretty much everything in terms of the foundations of getting the course off the ground. I hope you've found this useful and entertaining, and I'll be coming at you shortly with the story video to get you moving forward on creating an awesome story that is going to move us to tears, laughter, and horror.